Hey everybody, I just wanted to shoot this introduction real quick to this video. This video is coming out, today's Wednesday. I plan on posting it on Friday. Um, but the work was actually done a couple months ago, back in December. It's had about 5, 6 snow wheeling trips on it since then, and no axle leaks or anything like that. Obviously, I didn't expect breakage, but I've already put it back on the lift and checked to make sure that everything was still tight, rechecked the torque and everything. Everything was good, which I would advise. But there was a little bit of footage that became corrupted, so I wanted to notate that real quick. There's a couple times where I comment about how I was going to show you the broken axle when I pulled it out, um, and that footage is gone. I can't even find it. And then there's another section where I show what I did with the carrier. What I ended up doing was I just augered out the axle a little bit with a carbide bit, sorry. Hollowed it out enough to where it released some of that pressure, because I started pressing it and I just didn't like how much pressure it was taking, and I didn't want to take the chance of messing anything up. So I took a little bit of time and did that. And then she pressed out pretty easy after that. The carrier itself was fine. There was a little bit of scarring on the upper edge. I just smoothed that out and then put new bearings in. And then thankfully, usually it's the case when you have setup bearings and everything. So in this case, the same thing. I got a new bearing, everything lined up perfectly. I actually had a bearing on the shelf that I don't know why I had. But anyways, um, so this video is also an 8 point or Super 8.8 setup kit, C-clip eliminator kit. So I lost that footage as well. So I just wanted to take a moment to say that. And then also, while editing this video, I noticed that a few things. One thing, I apologize. I got to stop turning away and talking. I do that quite a bit in this video, so I will definitely work on that. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Yes, I also run wheel spacers. I've ran wheel spacers for years with zero issues. I honestly don't know what people's problems are. I put Loctite on and I torque them and I check them a few times a year. I've never really had an issue with them coming loose, cracking, slitting, nothing. So. The C-clip axle, it'll push the axle in, which will allow which I gotta get the rotor freed up first, because it won't let me put the axle in far enough. But once I do that, that'll allow me to push the axle in, which will allow the C-clip to fall out. And then we're eliminating that completely. These new axles and kit will put hub bearings out here, similar to a Ford 9-inch or other semi-float axles. So. All right, there we are. That'll get that C-clip out of there. I know this comes out. I have it like just in the right spot to get it to come out. There you go. All right. Okay. Now we can turn this to get the C-clip manipulated to where it'll come out, because right now it's facing down. It's got to be horizontal in order for us to get it out of there. Show you guys what I'm talking about really quick. So let's see here. You can see in there that little C-clip. It's hard to hold the flashlight and do that at the same time. Let me see if I can manage. So this little C-clip right here, you can see I just moved it. It has to slide out in order for this axle to go out. And now that we have it in that position, we can push it out, slide the axle out, and then get in there with a magnet and grab it, or pliers, whatever. But it's got to go either this way or that way to do that, because it can't go downward. There's this wall that's right there, so it would just go 1/4 of an inch or so and just stop and wouldn't move. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, trying to get that out of there. And the other side, we have to do the same thing, but that's got a broken axle, so I'll just have to push the axle in. Should be a little easier, honestly, and go from there. But see if I can't get the C-clip out. There, just like that. Now this axle can pull right out. And I showed you a little bit on the other axle, but right here is where it broke. Everybody has their own way of doing things. I do not like coming in here and just going to town with a impact. So I will loosen them by hand. Once they're loosened by hand, I will then go ahead and take them off with an impact. Check real quick. Usually when I do gears, I'll put 2 markings. Yeah, I'll show you what I mean. A lot of other YouTubers will tell you to do the same thing, but there is a mark right there and a mark in the housing, and then 2 marks right there, if you can see it, and then 2 marks up here in the housing. And that just tells me which way these go, as well as which side they go on. So everybody has their own way. I think that's a pretty typical way for people to do it. It's the way I do it. I don't do a lot of gears. Once I kind of do them, I hopefully don't mess with them again for a long time. And in fact, the last time I did it, I paid somebody. operating quite as I'd like. Nothing, I just opened the shims would do with it on this side. Oh man, I wonder it didn't want to come out. Hey guys, let's get a good look at her. So that was probably the worst I've personally experienced. I'm hoping that's, I mean, that looks like I need to replace the bearing for sure, which is unfortunate. That housing definitely got chewed up a little bit. I'm going to research tonight. I'm not sure the best way to go about getting this out. I don't want to, I'm hoping that the locker is okay. You know, other than a little bit of scarring there. It doesn't look like it's cracked or anything, but I was in the middle of a trail when this happened, so I didn't really have much of a choice but to drive it out. You know, and obviously I tried to be easy on her, but she definitely did a number. So I'm going to let this sit overnight, clean everything up tomorrow, but I'm going to do a little bit of research and see what the best course of action is to get that out of there. I don't know if, like I said, it looks like this bearing needs to be replaced. Looks like it's cracked right there. I mean, I can't tell if it's all the way through, but I'm gonna replace it anyways, just for peace of mind, which sucks because I don't want to reset gears. But no point in putting it back together if you don't put it back together right. And then hopefully there's nothing wrong with the locker itself, because anybody knows who does this sport, they're not cheap, right? Hey guys, so we're back on doing the 8.8 C-clip eliminator kit. So I did already put my carrier pin back in and glue the cover on, and I forgot to record that, but you'll see what it's like to take it off. It's just the reverse to put it back on. Maybe I'll see if I can't find something and snip it in. But I got this side done. Other than the brake caliper, this extends it out. Thought the kit said a total of 1 inch, but there's like 1 inch on each side. So anyways, the brake caliper now no longer fits. I'm just like, I made this brake line anyways, because just the way the factory ones were and everything. I cut this axle all up, pressed it and everything. But so I'm just gonna get a new line and make my own new line, and then that way this will be long enough. But you can see right now, like, it used to sit about right here. It's not long enough to reach anymore, and I could probably stretch this hose out, but I would prefer not to do that. So I will tackle that later, but for now, we will start on the other side, and I will show you guys how to put this kit together. Okay, so first thing is going to be first. One, I'm going to get this all cleaned up, but the kit shows that we're going to cut this is where the old seal and the old bearings used to ride. We're going to cut this completely off, and we will cut it down to this lip here. So what I did was I cut it, you know, a hair back. At the end of the day, I don't think it really matters, because it doesn't rest up against it necessarily. It goes inside of this housing by about a 3/8 of an inch or so, and then it comes around and cuffs back on the other side of this. So I think it's important that it has a lip to rest on, but if you cut into this just a little bit, I don't think it's the end of the day. But anyways, I'm going to cut this off and leave a little bit of a gap. That way I can, just a hairline gap, and then I will grind it smooth with a poly wheel until she looks pretty. Get this all cleaned up, and then, like I said, we'll start doing the install. Something I forgot to mention is make sure you stuff some rags or something in there that you can get out easily too, because otherwise you're going to fill that tube full of dust. But you can see what I was talking about. I left just a hair there. Now I'll come in with a poly wheel. I'll grind that down slowly and evenly. I just would rather it have a nice surface. You know, I grinded just a hair there, but I'd rather it has a nice surface to Okay, next thing we're going to do is, in this package, you will have the bearing C, retaining flange, and the bearing spacer. This we'll use later, and this we'll use later. But we will need the bearing seat, these 4 bolts, and then, oops, wrong one. These 4 nuts, and these 4 nuts. I misplaced one of them, but it doesn't really, all these are used for is a spacer to, and I'll show you exactly what that's for, but make sure that you're using the non-locking nuts for driving this on. You can mess up threads if you don't. So anyways, first thing I'm going to do is clean up this bearing flange a little bit. The directions do not say to do this on this side, but I'm going to do it anyways. But right here is where it seats against the axle housing, and I'm going to put some silicone there. Again, directions don't say to do that. Do it if you want, don't if you don't want to. But to me, it's just better safe than sorry. The kit does have you silicone things in other places, and it does provide said silicone, but I'm going to use Right Stuff. I've had really good luck with Right Stuff in the past, so I'm going to use that instead. But get this, get some of that on there, and again, do it if you want, don't if you don't. It's your choice. To me, it's just a little nice assurance that we're not relying on that seat for it to not leak. Doesn't say not to do this, it just doesn't say to do it. So, all right, we'll move back over the video. Go ahead and place the 38 bolts in the axle tube. I had problems with both. I mean, I believe these were metric holes or bolts before, but the shoulder barely doesn't want it clear. Little tap and they'll go right in. Okay. Now we'll put this flange on. But it's important that this flat part goes up. Otherwise, you're open facing out. That's where the bearing on the axle, right? But anyways, if you don't put that up, your brake components will not fit when you go to install those. So, all right. So this is where those spacers come into play. If you do not have the spacers, you'll run into shoulder before you get this on all the way. All right, so I'll just go into crisscross pattern. Take all of these nuts off. I will no longer need these nuts since I already did the other side. If you're on your first side, you want to keep these nuts because you'll use them again. Sorry about that. I also don't need these spacer nuts anymore, but you can kind of see, hopefully you can see, the shoulder of the bolt is right there. So if we were to just use these, we would have messed up the nut and probably the stud and everything. So, but this is how it'll stay for now. We'll see why later. Next step is going to be to put the studs in the axles, and this is per the instructions. I will say it's definitely. It would work better without the rag there, but I just would rather not scar the axle. Chrome ollie, so it may very well not. But. All right, one thing to note, and this is per the instructions, there's two lug patterns on here, 5 on 4.5 and 5 on 5.5. So you just choose whatever lug pattern is appropriate for you. Oh, hey, there's another loss. But like I said, I don't need these anymore. So down there's my bolt nut bin. Okay, so the retainer clip goes on first, and then in one of these bags, all right, there will be a seal spacer, then the seal. Make sure you're putting it on this way. And then the bearing. The bearing has a small section and a big section. The smaller section will go down towards the hub. And then the spacer. Now, I'm gonna go press these on. They have a shoulder that they press up against, so and I'll take you over there and show you that. If you don't have a press, then there's other tools you can do it with, but I will say it took quite a bit of force on my press to press it on, so I don't know how much you would want to mess around with it. Okay, you may or may not have to do this. Again, something the instructions don't say you have to do, but the steel doesn't really want to go past this very well. It gets caught up a little bit, so I just took a little bit out of it. So same thing for this plate. Oh, and the other thing is the 3/8 bolts did not want to go through these holes. They're just way too tight. So I also drilled those out to just a little bit. Screw on. That on. The axle will. Directions do say to put some silicone on the seal surface. I just put it up here. I find it easier. It does say a light coat. About putting some on the housing portion as well, but I think we'll be all right. And find the sweet spot. Center everything up. Get your cleaner started on the bolts, and then just for a decent shove. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is a little bit of Loctite. I'm putting on lock washers on. It's kind of redundant. You're going to torque everything down. I just, again, off-road vehicle. Me, what's it going to hurt? I've certainly had stuff like this come apart before after several trips. And, I try to check everything before I go out or after I get back, whichever ends up happening. But shit happens, and sometimes you go to back-to-back trips and you don't do your services like you should. Here's where you're going to want those lock nuts started. There, man. All right. Again, I'm going to go in a little bit of a crisscross pattern. This hole will line up with wherever your bolt and nuts is. So I'll start there. Just gonna snug it up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the torque wrench and torque them down to 40 foot-pounds. So I probably won't finish putting the brakes and everything together this video. I think for the most part, everybody knows how to put
brakes together, at least I hope so. But I'm gonna have to, like I mentioned before, I'm gonna have to do something, get different brake lines, make a new brake line that reaches further or something. So that was good. So all right, but there we have it, everybody. That right there was a C-clip eliminator kit for the 8.8. Together pretty well, I think. I will get my brake situation that I showed you a little while ago taken care of probably tomorrow, get some parts. I think what I'm going to do is, like I said here, I made this line, flared it and everything. And probably what I'm going to do is just move it. I don't really want to have to get, probably want to hurt to get a new brake line. That one doesn't look the best, but even still, right now the way it is, I can go in for a 2000 Ford Explorer and get everything I need. I don't really want to have to create a situation, which, I mean, not that this thing isn't already that way, but I don't have to create a situation where, like, hey, I need brake pads for a 2000 Ford Ranger, and then I need a brake line for a, 94 Dodge Durango or whatever. So probably just move this line. I think that'll be the easiest thing to do. So, well, let me know if you like the video. Been thinking about doing more of these, maybe even a little bit more about the Jeep. It's nothing fancy, just a 95 Jeep Cherokee XJ, but Rubicon front axle that's built, 35 spline axle, RCVs, Rubicon transfer case. I was gonna do a Rubicon rear end, and now I'm wondering if I should have. But from what I had read, the 8.8s are, some people say they're even stronger. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I even have a set of 1 tons. I kind of try to keep this light. I do a lot of snow wheeling, and I was doing rock climbing in some granite rocks. I'll put a snippet in and just obliterated the axle. But again, it's been 7 years that axle's been in there. It's stock axle. I didn't have chromoly axle shafts. It just before I was running 35s, but you can tell even the good axle has a little bit of twist on the teeth. So they were going, and I've been wheeling hard for 7 years, to include rock climbing. I just don't do as much of that. It's not really built for that. It's kind of a cheap build. So anyways, thanks guys.